Well, the National Disaster Management Organization in the Northeast region is appealing for food items and shelter for victims of the latest communal violence in the Tripoli district. The violence erupted last week Thursday at Wincheke and spread to nearby communities after a disagreement between two Chokosi royal factions over the enskinment of a new chief. NADMO has already confirmed 27 houses as well as several tons of stored grains and other foodstuff were set ablaze during the confrontations. 4 young men were also gunned down and 5 other persons, including a military man, are currently receiving treatment. Now, speaking during a visit to the affected communities, the regional NADMO director, John Kweku Al-Hassan, said any further delay in providing food assistance to the victims could result in acute hunger. Would bring you details of the story in this bulletin. Stay with us now. To other stories now. And across Ghana, police spokespersons and command would hardly grant media interviews. From regional to district and divisional commands, no one can speak to the press. This is because communication from every corner of the country has been centralized in Accra. There's worry that the national unit hardly gives information, and if it will, gives it very late. This information deficit is not only affecting information flow to the public, it's giving rise to undue speculation about many happenings in the country. JoyNews editor Fifi Kumson examines how the situation is affecting information flow to the public.
Media has a big responsibility to, among others, educate and inform. But the new police media blackout in the regions and districts of the country, following the assumption of office of IGP George Akufo-Addo Dampare, threatens this mandate.
This has a very serious potential on giving room for speculations and misinformation.
Whenever a story breaks anywhere in the country, the police in those jurisdictions would direct journalists to the Central Police Communication Center here in Accra for comment. And on many occasions, when the journalists do, they get no answers. Almost every one of these newsmen and women has a story about how this decision by the police is affecting their work in the relay of information to Ghanaians.
Recently, there was a criminal case in one of our neighboring towns, Okrasi, and my outfit tried to authenticate and get facts and some clarification from our regional police command. Sadly enough, we were told to contact the national headquarters.
But how can one central communication center handle requests from 16 regions and 216 districts, municipalities, and metropolitan assemblies? Why would the police shut its commanders in the regions up, the people who have first-hand information, and rather rely on communication officers who only have secondary data?
Whether he thinks that his public relations officers in the regions or the district commanders or the divisional commanders are not competent enough to handle communication. Even if that is the case, I think that there should be a systematic approach to train them in handling PR at the local level.
Following the recent outbreak of violence in Boko, for example, police in the Upper East region could not speak, and it was difficult getting information from Accra.
Different kinds of information was going round, and the police PRO kept saying that he did not have information for me. If we needed the information at the time that he didn't have it, then he was suggesting that we should talk to the Public Affairs Directorate in Accra in order to get information, which for me is a bit ridiculous, because I cannot be here in Bolga in the Upper East region when something is happening, and then I need to go to Accra, nearly 900 kilometers away, in order to be able to get information to bring to the general public.
GGA President Albert Kwabena Jomfo in September last year called for a change. According to Mr. Jomfo,
depriving the media information in real time is a matter of serious concern to the association. Starving the media of information in a decentralized system using centralization tactics is impeding the work of the media as far as information dissemination is concerned.
Perhaps the police can take a leaf out of the books of their counterparts in some of the most advanced democracies, where local police and sheriffs in counties constantly update the public on developing stories.
The IGP should look at it again and look at areas where he has to relax it. He does that to pave way for us to be able to have credible dissemination of information.
So it makes the work very difficult, and in times like this, people who don't have the patience to wait until they can get information from the police may just report information that is not accurate. And when that happens, we are only misinforming the general public and probably even creating a more serious security problem in Boko.
The police media blackout in the regions and districts of the country is counter-democracy. It's time the IGP took another look at this directive that's increasingly robbing the public of critical information in a timely manner.
Now, JoyNews trying to speak to the Public Affairs Department of the Ghana Police Service, but it's yet to get any answers from that particular department. Peter Tobu is a former executive secretary of the IGP, and he will be joining us as well as security analyst Adam Bona. Okay, so let me speak to Mr. Peter Tobu there, because he has been executive secretary to the IGP. How do you evaluate this practice where the police would want to centralize every information in Accra? Mr. Tobu, I'm beginning with you, sir. You have been in a position where probably some of these hard decisions were taken in your presence. How do you evaluate this practice of the police service centralizing information? I've been speaking to security analyst Adam Bona, who has been sharing some thought on it. He joins us live on the Zoom now. Grateful to you for joining us. You've been in this space for quite some time. What do you make of this decision to centralize information dissemination?
Well, good morning, and good morning to my brother Tuobu, who is, I believe, is joined or is yet to join. What I can say is that with regards to what do you call that, this conversation we are having, I'm sure that if I quite remember, it didn't start under this current administration. Previously, there were times that if I, needed to speak to sometimes even those in charge of, the police public affairs directorate, they would direct me to speak to the IGP. I mean, previously, before this IGP took over. And there were times I needed to speak to the IGP for the IGP to give them directives before, I get to talk to them on some of these matters. But I would say that my expectations are that the Ghana Journalism Association, the GJA, together with probably, I think there is we have the National Media Commission and the others, would have to the Private Broadcasters Association and the rest. I'm expecting that there should have been a meeting by now in your, promo or the videos you play, of which you sent me a copy. I didn't hear anything like that where the GGA president said we had a meeting with the IGP. I'm very sure that if this thing is a worry as has been put out, then I was expecting the GGA, the Media Commission, and the National Media Commission, and probably the Private Broadcasters Association to have written to the IGP and his management board to have a meeting with them to see how some of the, some of these things can be relaxed. But if it hasn't been done, then it is difficult to say nothing at all is being done. I was expecting that they should have done that.
But should we even get here in a democracy? Should it be that the police would want to have every information which will be disseminated to the public coming from a centralized position in Accra, and not allow the regional commanders, district commanders, the space to explain issues that happen in their jurisdictions?
I am not holding brief for the media, and I wouldn't want to hold brief for the police either. Mine is that there is a situation at the moment, and as you have alluded to, how do we probably get over it? How do we get around to get go back to the status quo? But like I said, there's been, in the past, there have been issues with police communication. I have to be very honest with you. A typical example has to do with the Takoradi missing girls saga. There were a lot of miscommunication here and there from, the headquarters, and they kept contradicting themselves. Where you had the regional PRO and then the PROs who manned the national headquarters, they kept contradicting themselves. That further exacerbated, made the situation, a bit more complex. And if you remember, it was out of one of those, misinformation by the regional and the national, that culminated into massive demonstration in the Western region, because then no one knew what was going on, because then while the regional PRO was saying, the regional public affairs people were saying something else, those in Accra who manned the national headquarters were also saying something else. And if I spoke to your, JoyNews around the time, and I thought that was very unprofessional. The police information should be probably tailor-made. It has to, from the source you are getting it from, it has to be good enough so that they shouldn't contradict themselves. I do remember under one of the public affairs directors, recently, I think about 2 years ago, another mishap. And so for me, I think that the media houses, GJ and everybody should sit around the table to be able to communicate. Your correspondent in the upper East region, actually, he said something that caught my attention. The issues of Boku. You can imagine if he has to come all the way to Accra to get information, concrete information to be able to give to the rest of you in Accra. That will not be the best. But I would urge that these things would have to be handled in a manner that is befitting. But in the past, some of us haven't been very comfortable with police communicators, because some of them have not communicated well. They communicate, and sometimes you ask yourself, where did they get their information from? Because then once you communicate and you don't have all the facts, and later the real facts come out, then you are caught in between. Why did you communicate, prematurely when you didn't have all the facts? So I think the concern is a very legitimate one, but it needs to be looked at.
Let me bring in Peter Tobo here, because he's a former executive secretary to the IGP. Grateful for joining us. Can you help us understand what could influence such a decision to say that information dissemination should be from Accra and not the region, and not from the regions or the district? I guess we've lost Mr. Tobo there, but Mr. Bona, Dr. Adam Bona, if we are to move on this, your suggestion that the media should sit with the police to find out ways. If we are looking at communication, from the police point of view, and between that and the public, which one would be more believable? Those at the center of the action, or those who are distant in Accra and probably would have to, get information from from the regions before they can communicate to the issues?
So usually in the past, my dealings with the police, even today, I can tell you that there are times that some of us would get accurate information than sometimes those in the regions. You get accurate information because sometimes it has to do with trust. Let me be very honest with you. It has to do with trust. We, at a point in time in the history of this country, where people who are supposed to be giving accurate information to the police refuse to give that information to the police because of distrust, because they thought giving this information would compromise they themselves, because then you live in the region, and if you were to give this information to the local police, chances are that they might come after you. And you guys have done reports of brutalities in various regions, and when you check the source, you notice that maybe that person might have gone to report somebody and something untoward happened to the person, unfortunately, later on. And so, to answer your question directly, it should have been the trend where if something happens, let's say in Boku, your correspondence, if by now you should have had not just a correspondent in the Upper East, you should have had a correspondent in Boku, just like when you go to Jerusalem and the rest, where sometimes there are conflicts here and there, the CNN and the BBCs would station a correspondent, in the region, but then a correspondent also on the ground. And so, for instance, if something was going on, the correspondent in Boku would have to liaise with the correspondent for the region, so that they are able to give accurate information to the rest of you at the control center or in Accra. And so it should have been more believable to have the information being churned out at the source. But unfortunately, I do believe that we've had this conversation not once. Last year, I think your station engaged me again on this. But from last year up to now, I'm not sure what movements have been made. Because if we only talk, and no one is going behind the scene to find out the real issues, why is this so? Why can't we? Maybe it has to do with some unprofessional manner with which some officers and sometimes even the media personalities also turn out that information. Then probably you guys can then work out the guidelines, because then guidelines would help. As we speak today, elections in Nigeria, some deaths that occurred in Ghana in 2020 elections have found their way in Nigeria. And Nigerians and social media activists or those on social media are pushing it, making it look like the shootings that happened in, Techima, actually happened in some part of Nigeria. So others have sat back and realized, no, this image is coming from Ghana. And so these are some of the things. So I would say that it is important that the police you guys would have to sit with the police, and the police sitting granting you audience, because whether you like it or not, information will get out there. Whether you like it or not. Because then somebody is holding a phone, and that person is doing a live, real-time broadcasting, and whether trained or untrained, that person is broadcasting. But then it is always important to add that layer of credibility, that layer of accuracy to that broadcast that person did, to debunk or to accept the fact that what that person did was correct or it wasn't correct. And so as far as I'm concerned, the conversation shouldn't just end with what we are doing this morning. Go behind the scene with media, National Media Commission, go with the Private Broadcasters Association, go with the GJA, media houses. Have a tete-a-tete with the police. See, is it something that you can help them to get over? Is it something that they can help you to get over? So that at the end of the day, because I'm not expecting your correspondents in the Upper East, in the Northern region, in Kumasi, all of them coming to Accra when Joy FM and JoyNews is here to come and get the information from them before they give to you. So I think there is a gap, but that gap would have to be looked at, jointly.
Okay, but if it's a communication gap on the part of the officers, wouldn't a capacity building for the officers cure this? If the police feel that their officers are not able to communicate accurately on information, isn't the need for a capacity building the way to go? That is not what I'm saying. What I am only looking at, what could be the challenge. I understand you, but I'm trying to find out from you that if it is the challenge with communication on the part of the officers who are in the regions or the district, isn't capacity building the way to go from the police service?
I will not be able to tell if communication is the challenge to go. I've only used the past events to illustrate, to let you know what might have culminated into this. Because I haven't really engaged them to know why probably they are not giving access to correspondence in the region and access to allowing their communicators to communicate at the regions. I don't know what the situation is at the moment. I do not know. I'm only speaking to a previous event. But I'm only using the previous event to say that could be a factor. But if that is a factor, it is also important to situate it in the right context and say, if this could be a factor, then you know that, of course, maybe Joy FM correspondents might be communicating professionally. But let's also accept that some reporters would exaggerate events. You remember Ayawaso West Wagon. Initial report we had were that some people had been killed and other things have happened. Ejura, we had a good night. They said a number of people have died. And so mine is that I think in as much as there could be a problem with regards to what I'm alleging now, that maybe there are some communication gap on the part of the police. I think that largely some media personalities, sometimes when you hear them, sometimes in the local language, go over a lot of the things in a manner that inflames passion, put a lot of misinformation out there. Then obviously, if I am dealing with you, I'm careful. So I think that let's not assign blame here and there. It is important for our democracy, the democracy we now practice, to be able to communicate and communicate professionally. So sit with them, get your leaders to sit with them and see how this whole thing can be looked at going forward. Okay. Doc, I'm grateful for your time on the news this morning. Now, that's Dr. Adam Bona. He is a security analyst. Moving on to the Nigerian elections. Nigeria's Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has, dismissed allegations of rigging in the ongoing collation of results. Results from 15 out of the 36 states have been collated so far, putting Tinubu at about 10 political, Tinubu ahead. Now, about 10 political parties, including the Labour Party and the PDP, earlier asked the INEC to halt the national coalition process in order to resolve claims of manipulation of votes. Senator Dino Melaye, the coalition agent of the People's Democratic Party, demanded an explanation from the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, on why results of Saturday's presidential elections were not uploaded to the Commission's result viewing portal immediately after voting. Watch this.
You are now being you are now being disruptive.
I am not disrupting. The Electoral Act says that what is uploaded
you are now being disruptive.
You can bundle me out, but the right thing must be done. I'm a party agent.
You are now
that is what the Constitution
you are now
says.
being disruptive of the process.
I am not being disruptive. I'm asking what is uploaded is
next score, please. After the presentation, then we'll come back to the issues you've raised. Let's take the next step.
We are saying that let him declare that what is uploaded is what he's going to present. At least let him make that statement.
Okay. Score Kwara, sorry, Oshun and Derek, please make your presentation.
Thank you.
Sorry, Kwara. Kwara has done his own. Oshun State?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please go ahead, Oshun.
Mr. Chairman,
thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
my name is Dr. Mutiu Olaleke Agboke. I am the resident electoral commissioner, INEC, Osun State. My scope is here.
My name is Professor Fola Shade Ogushola, the Vice Chancellor
Agent of the
University
PDP,
of
please resume your seat. You are now deliberately disruptive.
I'm defending my votes.
Okay.
And I'm allowed by law to do that.
Red Kwara, please make your sorry, Oshun, introduce yourself and let the scope for Oshun make her presentation.
Now, the INEC chairman, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, took time to address the allegations. He also denied the parties their request for the entire coalition to be halted.
I like the suggestion made that the Commission has power under the Electoral Act to review results, but that power is contingent upon one procedure. The process has to be concluded first before you can then talk about power to review. I want to assure political parties that any evidence that you have of any alleged wrongdoing at any level of the process, whether it's at the polling unit or at collation level, please forward this information. And I promise you, as soon as the process is concluded, we'll then do the review as provided by law. On this note, I beg you for us to proceed with the process. Thank you very much. Okay. Now that we have established calm, we can calmly proceed with the process and conclude in the best interests of our country.
Dino Melaya later explained his actions to the media. He said they are not there to rubber stamp infractions.
Section 60 and Section 64, 4 of the Electoral Act 2002 as amended, that there will be transmission of results from the polling units. And the INEC chairman and Festus Okoye have repeatedly told Nigerians that there will be transmission of results from polling unit directly to the server. And we found out that this has not been done. INEC failed in this regard. And when I raised this issue today, supported by other party agents, the national chairman of INEC vehemently evaded that, because what Section 47.3 emphasizes is that wherever the card reader or the beavers failed, if they cannot get a replacement, election should be cancelled in those areas. And we have seen for the presentation of the results from Ekiti yesterday that some places were cancelled as a result of bypassing beavers. So the only way to detect that beavers have been bypassed is for us to see the uploaded results. And we insisted that the chairman should show us here now the uploaded results state by state, just like the way they are displaying the collated results they are presenting. And that is the only way to test the veracity and authenticity of these results. If not, we are only here to endorse the fraud that has been done from the unit to the ward to the state. We are not here to rubber stamp infractions. We are not here to rubber stamp the abnormalities that have been done. We are here to check them. But the national chairman of INEC is not giving us opportunity to question what they are doing. He's saying that all has been done, meaning we are just here to rubber stamp. And we are going to prove that we are not here to rubber stamp. We have no other country to call our own but this country. We are going to do everything humanly possible to make sure that the right thing must be done.
What exactly are you going to do now, you and the other political parties?
We have just met now, and we are going to make a presentation by the time we resume. And if they insist that they are not going to respond to us, then you will see the action we will take. But we want to tell you, that we will not allow, having suffered a pain in this country, having suffered poverty, hunger, kidnapping, killings, we will not allow a continuation of failure. We must make sure that the right thing is done. And national chairman is putting his integrity on test. We are putting his integrity on test. Nigerians are watching. The world is watching. Even the dead are watching to see what INEC will do. But the battle to make sure that only authentic results will be announced here today is the battle of no retreat, no surrender.
Now, joining us on Zoom with update is Kelechukwu Ogu, analyst at SBM Intelligence. Kelechukwu, I'm grateful that you joined us. So, as we speak, what's the latest from this election? Yes, as of early this morning, we knew that some 15 states had been collated. What was the latest on this election?
Okay, so we've seen 24 states, at least 24 states at polling unit at state collation level. I think right now the collation center at Abuja should have been opened by 11 o'clock, but I can't confirm that now because I'm here with you. So from these 24 states that we've seen at, like I said, state collation level, because you know there are about 5 collation levels, and before you get to Abuja, you need to have collated at the states. And for what we are seeing from there is that the PDP is winning in 10 states, and the APC is winning in 8 states. But you know, the process to determine the winner of an election in Nigeria requires 2 things: plurality of votes or most votes, and 25% in 24 states, at least that's 2/3. And so on the race to 24, the APC is doing well in 23 states already, and the PDP is doing well in 16 states. So if you have a situation where the 2 candidates get that majority and get that 24 states, then we're seeing the possibility of a runoff. The third force, Peter Obi, has won, I think, 5 states and has 24% in just 6 states. And while the fourth outsider, Kwankwaso, only did well in the state where he was expected to win, which is Kano. So that's what we're seeing now as to the road to Aso Rock.
So just to recap, results for 24 states have been collated so far, right?
Yes, but not all 24 have been announced in Abuja.
Okay. And out of the 24, the PDP is leading in 10. Is that it?
Yes, the PDP is leading in 10 states.
And the APC is leading in 8 of them?
Yes.
And the remainder of 6 is for who?
And 5 have gone to Peter Obi, and 1 has gone to Kwankwaso of the NNP.
Okay.
That's Kano, his home state.
Interesting. So you were talking about a runoff there. How many votes should the leading candidate have to take this election to the runoff?
So what the law says is majority of votes and 25% in 24 states. That's 2/3. So you have 36 states plus the FCT, which is 37. And so 2/3 of that is 24. So if the leading candidate has 25% in 24 states and has the majority of votes, then he automatically qualifies to be declared winner. But if someone else also achieves that, then there's the possibility of a runoff. So anyone who meets all these criteria goes into a runoff.
Okay. Yesterday, we had a senator, one senator who was an agent for APC, I think PDP rather, was challenging and calling for the fact that some collated results have to be cancelled. The INEC chairman said it was impossible.
Who you just played, right?
Good, yes. What's the update on that? How far with parties and their acceptance or rejection of results coming in?
PDP, Labour Party, and a few other parties walked out after that tirade. But it did not stop the calling of the results. And then some other parties also said, oh, we are not pulling out, like the PDP and the LP and a few others did. We are not part of that coalition. And we are staying to see the results to the end. And that's what has happened. You've also heard from Obasanjo saying that the election needs to be redone in cases where people were disenfranchised, where ballots were snatched. I think in one state, about 95 polling units comprising 51,000 votes were cancelled. We've also seen videos, not many of them verified, because I can't guarantee the certainty of them, but we've seen videos of results being doctored. We've heard cases of that. People have reported instances of that. We've seen that in Lagos. We've heard of that in Rivers. That's Rivers State in the Niger Delta, South. And so people are being skeptical. As at 7 p.m. yesterday, I think, there was no result on the election viewing portal for Rivers State. And then suddenly results started coming up, but collation was almost done. You see, so results have to be transmitted from the polling unit level, which is the micro level, the granular level of this election. Results have to be transmitted from there to the portal using the bimodal voter accreditation system. You know now, the bimodal voter accreditation system is used to make sure that everyone who votes is accredited, right? Now, when everyone who votes is accredited, they then now everyone who is accredited goes to vote. The results are then tallied, and the written results, the presiding officer writes the results and then uses that BVAS, snap it, and put it on the viewing portal. But we've seen instances of overvoting. So the question then becomes, if we are having so many instances of overvoting, how was the bimodal voter accreditation system bypassed? Which gives credibility to the call by Dino Melaye and Emeka Ihedioha, who's the agent for the PDP, that these results need to be shown because people are not trusting the process any longer. Now, INEC is not mandated to transmit the results by the viewing portal. but they promised that they will do it. They put it in their guidelines, I think, that they will do it. I saw an advert on one of the major stations in Nigeria yesterday, channels, saying exactly that. Your results will be defended. One man, one vote. One woman, one vote. And it will be defended by beavers. So when you are having instances of overvoting, how did that happen in so many polling units?
Now, we've also seen from the results coming in that it looks like there's a huge low voter turnout. What's the reason? What explained that voter turnout that we're experiencing in this election?
At SBM, we've had conversations around maybe 40-something%, and I'm seeing this low voter turnout. There was a lot of voter suppression, The civil society situation room, which is a coalition of societies in Nigeria, said someone from there granted an interview on Sunday and said in practically almost all of the Southeast, about turnout was 6% of election officers as at 8:30 when the election was supposed to start, as at 8:30 in the morning. I just was reading the AU Observer report, and I think it says 83% of electoral officers did not come in time. Then you had issues of people not seeing their names on the polling unit, in the polling unit, not seeing their pictures in the polling unit, seeing polling units being moved. You've heard of issues of violence. Something happened in my area where I stay, where a known thug with police backing was saying anyone who's not voting for a particular party, the APC, should leave. You had instances of that. And so it creates a lot of uncertainty. You had instances of certain parties not appearing on the ballot paper for the Senate and House of Representatives seats. I saw something in Delta, again, another South state, another producing state in the Niger Delta, a particular local government, Warri South, and people were there on Sunday protesting that they must vote, saying that they had not voted, while INEC was saying, oh, voting had taken place. No, our voting only took place in a few polling units, and the ballot boxes in those few polling units were allegedly snatched and dumped at the back of the INEC building in that local government. So you've been seeing a lot of issues like that. There's been a lot of voter suppression. There's been a lot of disenfranchisement that has happened in this election. And I think it has the potential to reduce the credibility of the elections. It has the potential to make youths, people 18 to 35, feel like, oh, I came out this time around, and now my thoughts, my vote is not reflecting. I don't trust the system, and I won't come out next time. That's what we are seeing.
Interesting. From how the results are coming out, those of you who've been analyzing data, what do you see? Do you see a possible runoff here, or be a one-touch victory? Yes, we see a runoff, at least between the first two candidates. So Tinubu is doing well in the popular votes. First to the poll, Tinubu is doing well with that. We're expecting that he will win, but what we are not sure of at this point is if he would win outright. Okay. All right. So those of you who are understudying this election feel that he is leading anyway, but you are expecting a possible runoff between him and who? Yes. Abubakar? Atiku. Remember, like I said, Atiku has won 10 states and he has won 8, but he has 23 states already in the kitty in terms of vote winning and 25% or one quarter spread. Atiku has 16. Okay. There were also, issues about the Labour Party missing from some ballot papers. How is the INEC addressing that particular issue? They've pushed some of the elections to March 11, which is when the governorship and the State House of Assembly elections are slated to take place. Is that what explains why the Labour Party was missing from some of the ballot papers? No. We've not gotten any explanation. INEC has not given any explanation as to why that happened. On Saturday, Yakubu addressed that. Yakubu
the INEC chairman addressed that on Saturday and just said the elections will be moved. And there's been no apology as to why beavers did not work. You see, these things were procured with taxpayers' money. This election cost $775 million in budget, or 355 billion naira. It's practically one of the most expensive in the country. And a lot of people only came out to vote, I tell you, because of beavers.
What is that, beavers?
Yeah, that's the bimodal voter accreditation system.
Okay.
I explained earlier.
But in terms of the general populace, what has been the reaction to all that is happening about this election, especially with the collation of results?
It depends on who you ask. A lot of people are angry. A lot of people are angry. A lot of people feel their votes are not going to count. A lot of people feel their votes have been suppressed. There have been some calling for protests even. But again, Peter Obi has said he would accept whatever results come out. Tinubu has called for calm in Lagos because when Peter Obi won in Lagos, there were fears and there were claims that people of a particular ethnic extraction, the Igbos, were under threat. I've seen video, I just saw a video this morning of someone saying Igbo should leave Lagos, you know. But the governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, and Bola Tinubu have called for calm and have told everyone to be calm, you know. But people are agitated, to be honest, and people feel like their votes have not counted. But it depends again on who you ask.
Okay, Kelechugu, I'm grateful that you could join us with more on this particular election. Now you can get updates on what's happening in Nigeria on the My Joy online platform. As you're watching Joy News Desk, we'll take a quick break. We'll be back with business. Kindly stay with us.
Now you can hear me. Welcome to business. My name is Darryl Kwao. The changing trends in the economy and geopolitics are likely to have a significant effect on customer satisfaction, and there is the need for a readjustment as a business to stay afloat ahead of the market. Now, this is an assertion by the Executive Director of Enterprise Bureau, Ethel Ann Komlaga. Speaking to Joy Business after a forum dubbed EB Connect, she admonished businesses to take advantage of the trends to capitalize on the advantages of data in order to excel.
Marketing dynamics have been a challenge for some Ghanaian startups which struggle to meet the changing needs of customers. This forms part of reasons the EB Connect 2023 was organized by Enterprise Bureau. According to the Executive Director, Ethel Ann Komlaga, the changing trends are likely to affect pricing and competition for businesses, especially startups, hence the need for some form of innovation to meet customer satisfaction.
We are looking at the marketplace dynamics for startups so they can position themselves competitively. You know, change is happening everywhere, and marketplace dynamics can affect your competition, your price, your pricing, your customer values, and all of these things. So we have decided to bring an experienced person in the marketing industry to give us more insights so that all of us as startups, especially those working with data, even for Enterprise Bureau, how startups can use data to understand their businesses and also to give value.
Former marketing lecturer at the Methodist University, Samuel Kofi Afum, encouraged businesses to constantly analyze their customers to understand their needs.
As an entrepreneur, you need to do all these studies at first, analyzing the market, and then as you keep satisfying them too, as we said, the changes keep on happening. So you should be constantly analyzing the markets, keep in constant touch with your customers, and then find out from them what, if they want something extra, or if what you are giving them is satisfying, and if you are delivering the right value. So if they think everything is okay, then you know that you are also in business. And when you do this, it means your business would always thrive. But if you divert yourself from your customers, then there is a likelihood of you running out of business.
Some of the participants also expressed their views about the EB Connect series.
The way he taught it and the way he explained as well, I would recommend others to come for this training as well. And I myself, I would definitely always come back, because I think I met other people, I'm marketing myself as well, so it's a good platform.
This program have been very beneficial to us, because as startups, we are wondering how to get away with this new area of things. We've been able to learn how to position our products based on price, I've also learned 3 new things.
This year's edition focused on market dynamics and competitive positioning.
The African Continental Free Trade Area has been petitioned to address human trafficking and modern slavery in the supply chains of AFTA participating companies. Chief Executive Officer of Challenging Heights, James Kofi Annan, who submitted the petition, is requesting that AFTA establishes an initiative that obliges its members to approve corporate policies that address supply chain issues, as well as address its own internal human rights issues. Here's more.
According to Challenging Heights, the petition is to avoid the risk of international product sanctions, as well as to enhance international consumer and investment confidence in the participating companies within the AFTA agreement. Chief Executive Officer of Challenging Heights, James Kofi Annan, says they are requesting of AFTA to set up a unit to monitor compliance and for the unit to work with other member countries to facilitate the passing of due diligence legislations.
Human trafficking and modern slavery has become an issue globally. So Ghana has a law against human trafficking, just like so many African countries. But countries within the AFTA enclave or the AU region do not have laws that requires companies to address modern slavery and human trafficking issues within their supply chains. Unlike other countries like Netherlands, Germany, Australia, and all those countries have enacted due diligence laws against human trafficking and modern slavery in supply chains of companies. And so any company that is dealing or doing business with companies in their countries would also have to fulfill or comply with those laws.
Various countries and states outside the AU region have passed various laws and regulations that address human trafficking and modern slavery, from victim protection to addressing supply chain issues related to modern slavery. James Kofi Annan says AFTA has an opportunity to leverage existing national and international regulations and initiatives to establish initiatives that will provide participating companies the obligations to address human trafficking and modern slavery in their supply chains.
Now we know that the aim of AFTA is to basically do more exports, manufacturing exports. So which also means that the AFTA companies cannot work in isolation. They will have to work in tandem with companies in Europe, in America, in Australia, in Asia, all those countries. So if we do not have a law that compels these companies to address issues of modern slavery and human trafficking within their supply chains, then those countries' law will compel them to comply. Now, the international consumer agencies are not looking at the fact that, you don't have slavery or human trafficking in your supply chain at all. But they are looking at what efforts. Remember what happened to the cocoa industry. When they realized that Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire were making efforts, they opened up the space again. And we were able to then export our beans to those countries, and the chocolate industries had the freedom and the peace of mind to do their businesses.
Richard Kojo for Joy Business.
And thanks for watching. The news returns after this break.
Well, and that's all in our package for this. There's more news on myjoyonline.com. My name is Samuel Kojo. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of our shows. Good morning.